Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time again. Welcome back to Cochise County Veteran-Owned Business. It's Thursday. It's 5 o'clock. Well, it's 5-ish. Let's be real, because I know you're not watching this at 5. It's pre-recorded because I want to make sure that everybody sees this video in its entirety, and we've got someone special for you. He may look familiar to you if you've been watching the Warrior Healing Center social media network. Then you recognize the person to my left, your right, depending how you're watching this video. Seriously, anything's crazy these days. From the Level Up Live Warrior Ethos, he did a whole bunch of, some of the things I can't remember, I'm not going to lie. But it's all based out of Tombstone.
Well, a lot of the stuff I talked about was just positive things to keep things positive, way to deal with your physical issues and your mental issues and those kinds of things. So I tried to hit a wide variety of stuff, positive stories that I heard, or things that might help people. Yeah,
it was amazing, and you also had those vendors. You had those tables at the vendor.
Yep, sure did. Yeah. So haven't done much of that in the last few years, but yeah. Had those where people would come up and we would talk about coaching and stuff like that, try to help them out. So,
but he has been doing something amazing as of late, ladies and gentlemen. Rob Robertson, and today we are going to talk about his book, The Submariner's Tale.
A Submariner's Tale.
Submariner's Tale.
Yeah,
I have an accent. Chicago area, so don't mind me. How you been?
I'm doing. Like we were just talking about a minute ago before we got started. Every day's a new adventure.
Right.
So anytime you're a disabled vet, you have your good days and your bad days.
Mm-hmm.
So get by every day as best I can.
Well, it's always good to have you on here. Good to
have appreciate being here.
Good to have a familiar face back.
Yeah.
Now I've been reading some of this. I told you, I was like, I didn't get to the end. I was trying.
The butler did it.
The butler did it. In the library with the candlestick.
In the library with the candlestick.
But what I've got up to so far is really amazing. I mean, I know you spent a lot of time in the beginning. You were building that base of yourself and family life,
mm-hmm.
and just how early part you started in Kansas,
mm-hmm.
moved around, stayed a little bit in San Francisco. Really touched home when you started talking about the 80s and the music that would really get you going.
Yeah. I think there's something about those of us that were not necessarily born in the 80s, but went through that in our formative years.
Right.
I think we just have a different view of the world than a lot of other people do.
It's like it's just that form, like you said, that forming is like you just different music, something you focused on is like, all right, now I'm feeling something.
Yeah. I just don't think we got as bent up or twisted out of shape about things as maybe some people do now. Maybe that's an unfair observation, but it's just how I see things. I just, something happened. We just never did let things get to us as much as people do today.
Yeah. Now it's like, you say anything, I'm offended. Come on.
Yeah.
Before 80s was tough.
Yeah.
I mean, but it made you tough. It built you.
Yeah.
What was that part I was reading? Because I want to ask you about that. Coach Campbell was his name?
Yeah. So when I was going to 7th and 8th grade in LaPorte, Texas,
mm-hmm.
Baker Junior High School, again, another one of those experiences I had that had put a big mark on me. Really enjoyed going to school there. That was my first real success in being in school. And I got some AP classes and all that. But there was one person in particular was there, and I kind of gravitated towards him. His name was Coach Campbell. He was one of the football coaches.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not really where I got attached to him. It was more in the classroom, and I ran that chess club.
Right.
And that's where I really, got to be around somebody that was positive, had a positive effect on me. And I can't come back now to you and say, well, he said this or said that.
Right.
But I do remember that positive energy that he was always around you. Would always give to me.
It was like you said, being on the football field, he was tough on you, trying to get the best out of you, but being in the chess club as well, it's like a strategic thinker, start thinking outside the box is like, that's good.
He was probably the first real adult outside my parents or grandparents or secondary family that had real conversations with me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I mean, it wasn't, he didn't treat me like I was 13, at least from my perspective.
Right.
He treated me like, like another adult, almost having a conversation with him. So that was a big, big impact on me with him. So yeah, I remember him. I could still see him sitting there at that chessboard, that hand up here, like just rubbing on his chin. Man, what's it been? 50 years? Yeah.
And of course, you did your fair share of moving around. And when you read this book, it's like, well, at that time, it wasn't even the military, from at least what your mom and dad was doing, but it had very much the characteristics.
Right. So you still have all that stuff of you got to make new friends, you got to try to reintegrate in a new school, all those things. And, I see it both good and bad. And on the bad aspect of it, you never feel quite grounded anywhere. At the same time, you have experiences maybe that nobody else in your classroom or nobody else in your peers are getting to experience either.
Mm-hmm.
Because had Dad not had that posting in San Francisco, we might not have went up through Nevada and went through all the places, Lake Tahoe,
Right.
Virginia City, Vegas, Reno, all those places. And then, up through the Redwood Forest in Northern California and some of the towns and some of the historical places up through there. Had Dad not had that job, I might not have gotten a chance to do that if I would have just been in Kansas,
Mm-hmm.
for all that time. So, yeah, I mean, it's good and bad. Had a lot of conversations here recently for some reason over this deal with what it's like, traveling versus not traveling. It's like traveling can be good, and I think it's a good thing to do.
It has its bad,
but it also has its bad, especially when you're younger and you're in your formative years. It can be an issue.
The one thing I did not know, and because I've never heard it in conversation, it never caught me. But now that I've been doing a different form, I never knew that you did martial arts.
Mm-hmm. Did it for close to. I did it from basically 1981 to about 2010 when my back started getting to be an issue, and then it just got to be,
Mm-hmm.
you got to kind of pick and choose what where you're going to. And I've tried to pick it back up a few times since then, but it just seems like my back would become an issue, so I kind of left it off to the side. But yeah, I studied for a very long time. Got to meet some really amazing people doing that, including Chuck Norris. I met him when I was young, about 17.
Oh, very nice.
I didn't put that in the book, though.
No, I caught that, but I did catch where when you went to the hometown or the home area where Bruce Lee was.
Yeah, when we were in Kowloon,
right?
When we were in when we pulled into Hong Kong when I was on Louisville, and I didn't know because I don't think that I either didn't catch it when I watched the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Or the Bruce Lee movie that came out with, back in like the early 90s. It didn't dawn on me till years later. It's like, oh, wow, I was there and I didn't even. I think I might remember of seeing the statue that's there for him, but it didn't register exactly where I was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, that was my first time out of the country, so it was kind of like country mouse in the big city. Everything you do is kind of like your eyes are this big. Yeah, it's all cool. So, yeah.
Now, and again, like I said, I was reading quite a bit, so I was trying to catch on, trying to pay attention to key points. And you actually signed up for the Air Force first.
Yes, I did, and that was a disaster. That was a mistake on my part. One thing I learned as I went through this process of writing the book was, I think sometimes when you're trying to write a biography, trying to explain to people your mistakes as well as your successes can be a little bit daunting because you don't like to deal with the fact that you screwed up. No, none of us do.
Right.
My joining the Air Force was a massive screw up. So on my part, because my mother had just passed away and I was looking for something to connect to that was just going to be mine. My life was kind of falling apart at the moment. I thought that would give me stability. I think after death, that's probably about the worst place in the world you can possibly go is the military. You've kind of dealt with those issues that are around the death itself. And that's where I made the mistake. So mentally, I wasn't ready to go. Physically, I wasn't ready to go. And I paid for it probably more physically than I did mentally. When I was down there, I got down to 107 pounds. That's when they decided to send me home.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't, they were trying to put weight on me and it was going in the wrong direction. And so, I talked to the psychologists and everything, and they were like, hey, this is the wrong place for you. So I ended up going back to Kansas to start with, and then on to West Virginia afterwards.
Just trying to do what you could, and then eventually, and actually, what I liked a lot about the book So far that I've read. How you not only just go back and build that base to bring up to where you are, but every so often you just fill in going, oh yeah, and I was with not Rick, but there was another person who you always I want to say Iron
I'm
Mike.
Iron
I
Mike.
say
Yeah,
Iron Mike.
Iron Mike.
You always like, oh yeah, I met him back then. Stayed in touch with them through Facebook or Facebook, not MySpace. But I like how you went there and then caught us up to date, and then kept going back, and then caught us up to date.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Iron Mike's not with us anymore. He passed away from leukemia in 2016, and I that's one of those things that just it marks you because I always wanted to get back with him again.
Mm-hmm.
Because you always convince yourself there's time.
Right.
I got time. There'll always be time. Then the next thing I know, he and I had conversed a few times on Facebook and whatnot. And then all of a sudden one day I'm looking at it and there are people talking about like he's not here anymore. I was like, what the heck? So I finally messaged somebody that was in that thread and I was like, what's going on? Well, Mike passed away. And I had no idea he had leukemia. But apparently he found out only like 30 days before he passed. So it was like found out he was stage 4 and then he was gone. So, I mean, it was quick.
Then you made your way to the Navy. And correct me if I'm wrong of the way that I state this, for at least from the way I read and the way that I captured it, because you said your father was in the Navy Reserves, and to me, it's like you felt like it was something when he was introduced to you that this is what I'm looking for. This is not exactly this is the right thing to do to fall in line. This is what you.
So, I'm a big fan of President Reagan. And I remember, he kind of brought, to me anyway, brought back the spirit of America during the 80s. But one of the things that most people don't talk about is not every section of the country was doing as great as you would think up underneath it. Like in the area I was in, West Virginia, was still very economically depressed.
Right.
Most of it there is coal mining. And I had tried to make it there and couldn't get more than just the run of the mill, flipping burger jobs, basically is what I call them. Did a lot of security work, but I mean, it's not anything you're going to get,
Right.
And
especially considering what you said that they were asking for. It's like you're trying to do something like...
Yeah, the police departments. Yeah, I was trying to get on with one of the police departments, and all I heard was you got to have a degree or we want you to be from the military. So I almost went in the Navy in '88, and then I decided to do some more college. I just didn't take the bite right then and there. 1990 rolls around, I'm 24 years old, and it's like something's somewhere along here I'm not getting anywhere.
Yeah.
So I went down and I talked to the recruiters and took the ASVAB for the 2000 time because I'd taken them numerous times over the years. Scored still really high on it, and I would have went to nuke school. At the time, though, you had to be through nuke school before you were 25. Well, I was going to turn 25 that summer, so I couldn't go to nuke school. So they sent me down to see The Hunt for Red October.
Yes.
And I got hooked on that movie, and the whole idea is they start talking to me about sonar, and I was like, yeah, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. I want to go do that. And it was kind of a twofold thing. I always make a joke about it, is that being a huge Star Trek fan, I figured that was as close as I was ever going to get to being on a starship with a submarine. So that had a little bit of play into it. But yeah, I ended up signing up for Submarines, and it was a good decision at that time.
Submarines and in the sonar fields.
Right.
And from what I read, it was like you're a quick learner, really, really taking it on. Like you get focused on it, and you were at the top or near the top of the class in almost everything that you did.
Yeah, after that first one. That first one, I kind of tripped all over myself.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was because I didn't take it seriously. It's because I didn't realize the amount of commitment I was going to have into it. So there's a difference between you're not putting your full focus on something and you're just, kind of goofing off. I wasn't goofing off by any stretch, but I just wasn't putting my full focus into it. So when I took that first test, which was just basic math, I scored like an 80 on it, which is just enough to pass the test. You had to score an 80 on it.
Right.
That was the first thing. But the second thing that got me was the fact that I was at the very bottom of the class. There was like me and one other guy that got like an 80 and everybody else was other than. I was like, oh, we know. I'm not doing this. And it just lit a fire up underneath me for the next 16 weeks in that particular school. And so there was week 1 that I had an average of 80. By the time I graduated, I had an average of 94. So I brought it up 14 points just in those 16 weeks and got an award for most improved.
Yes.
Over that time. So, but it wasn't like I didn't do I don't think anything anybody else was doing. I just buckled down and said, if I'm going to do this, I need to commit.
And I want to say that's because, offhand, to your discipline towards martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you want to do the best you can. You want to make sure you get everything right. So you do that. So I would assume that's the same thing. That's the same mindset you put into this.
Right. Because it was much the same thing, because when I first went to study the martial arts, I got in under a special program,
Mm-hmm.
and I was the only one to make it through that program.
Yes.
And then once I got done with it, the instructor wanted me to move over to his regular classes, and I couldn't afford to pay for them. So he cut me a deal like, you clean the dojo, and you can go ahead and go. Well, yeah,
give it to mom.
Yeah, let me sign on. And so I was kind of like, I always say I was kind of like the first. I was the Karate Kid before the story came out.
Mm-hmm.
But that whole thing of it is now I have skin in the game.
Yeah.
Because now I'm putting in work to get something back in return. And the flip side of that was I was the last one in that dojo every night, and he was there every night. So I would get to bang things. I'm sure he was getting sick of that 16-year-old kid sitting there. But I mean, but he also took time to show me stuff that he probably didn't show everybody else because I was there. Because he'd be like, "Come on, let me show you this real quick," or whatever. And so yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that same mentality. You're exactly right.
So you're going through the Navy system. You're doing great. You're going to different places.
Mm-hmm.
But while this is all going on, there's also another thing going on, and it's affecting parts of your body.
Yeah. So I have a theory, and I don't know how true it is, that when I went in, so I raised my hand the first time in December of '89.
Mm-hmm.
Then I went to boot camp in April of '90. Then Saddam invades August of '90. I have this belief that they knew that he was going to invade back in '89. Mm-hmm. The U.S. intelligence believed that. Because I think they were willing to take anybody that could carry a rifle, because what I found out, and we could go into a great deal of this on the VA side of things, but as I was going through my files and everything else, it got to be pretty obvious to me that I probably should have never got past MEPS, because I had a couple of different things, a couple of different birth defects that should have kept me from being able to enlist.
Right.
But I think them not knowing how that was going to play out, if you could carry a rifle, they were willing to
sign you.
They were going to sign you, right? So then once I get there, the physical demands and everything start catching up with the problems that I have. Like 3 weeks into boot camp, my knees went sideways.
Yep.
When I got to submarine school, I popped had an MCL tear.
Yep.
Then it was just like, then I had the back break in '93, and it was just like this, just this constant, just something going wrong. So, by the time I got to '96, when I finally decided to get out, and I was still at that point trying to negotiate my way back in, wanted to get another contract, but I couldn't get anything that, the old thing is, if you can't get in your contract, don't sign it.
Exactly.
And I couldn't get anything that I was happy with, so I decided to get out. But anyway, by the time I left in '96, I was just literally beat to pieces. I mean, there's no six ways around it. My back was shot. My shoulders I'd separated both my shoulders in '95. Mm-hmm. You had the back break. The knees were still, not healing properly. So I had a ton of problems whenever I left.
You had a ton of issues. And now you're out in '96. You're with your wife, your adopted daughter. Mm-hmm. You're going through there. When you're finally getting ready to start moving into VA, I mean, how was that transition process? Just trying to get something like going, hey guys, I'm this.
Yeah.
What do I need to do for you to help me?
So how that transpired was, when I got out in '96, mm-hmm. Navy personnel was very clear about the fact that I was not VA eligible. And I thought it for a long time it was just me that they had told that to. But since then, I've had enough time in talking to veterans, obviously, over the last 30 plus years, mm-hmm. that I've talked to a lot of guys that were in during the '90s, not just the Navy, but in the Army, the Marine Corps, the Air Force, that also were told the same thing, that, hey, you're not VA eligible. I don't know where that came from, but, apparently somebody from on high was trying to discourage.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it was because they knew they were going to have to start paying for these injuries and stuff some of us had. Mm-hmm. So I didn't even talk to them for the first almost decade I was out. In October of 2005, I was working at a chemical plant as head of security, and the plant shut down.
Okay.
And I had good insurance through them. But obviously, now I'm without insurance. I have drugs now because of other medical issues that have cropped up since I got out that I need to live, not feel better. I don't take them, I die.
You need them to survive.
I need them to survive. So I thought, well, I'm going to call the VA. What's the worst thing they can tell me? No. So I call them up and I tell them, hey, this right here's the deal. I got a 96, Yeah, come on down, bring your DD 214. And I was just floored, that I was hearing this story.
Yeah.
And so actually getting into the system, as far as the medical part of it, was not that hard. And I will say, because you talk to vets, same as I do.
Of course.
And some vets will say they had great experiences with the VA. You've got them to tell you horror stories. I have kind of narrowed that down, at least from my opinion. Depends on what part of the country you're in.
Yes.
So where I was at in Charleston, in West Virginia at the time, now West Virginia at one time, it's not so anymore, had more people per capita in the military than any other state in the Union.
Okay.
So I think they have a real strong reputation for taking care of the people that are there. And I can't say that's the same. I've been gone now 20 years.
Right.
But at least whenever I was dealing with them, the doctor I had there and the people that I was dealing with took great care of me. And so I didn't have any problems with that part of it.
Okay.
The medical aspect of it was getting in and actually getting treatment was not too bad. That part of it was okay. If you're alluding to the actual part with the VA system as far as the disabilities.
Well, when I say that, I mean it as a whole because, eventually you're going to get to that side, but you need to get taken care of because...
Yeah. They that part of it, at least in Charleston, they did a great job.
That's good.
When I got to Fort Worth, almost 180-degree turn. Yeah, then I started having problems getting issues taken care of. And Fort Worth was not a good experience with the VA. I had one really good doctor while I was there. The rest of them seemed like they were just, willing to let me suffer as long as they could just write a pill for me. And, my thing about it being a veteran, and I say this all the time, is I don't want another medication. I want a tool that's going to help me deal with
exactly.
This. Whether it's a mental tool, whether it's a physical tool, I don't need another drug. I need something that's I can do physically to maybe make this better.
I don't want a medication you think that works. Yeah. And I have to play guinea pig for you just to find out it did or, oops.
Yeah. Yeah, because, you've talked to enough guys to know that they'll start doing that. And the next thing you know, you got medications doing this.
Exactly. And then you're trying to figure out, why are this level up higher than before? Oh, well, you shouldn't have been taking this. You guys don't look at this. This is what I'm taking.
Yeah.
Let me know.
Yeah. Because I ended up with a mistake on mine, apparently. Because with the heart condition I have, one of the things that helps is magnesium.
Okay.
So I also take Synthroid because it replaces the thyroid because I had it burned out in 2001.
Right.
But come to find out, I have to be careful when I take the two of them because the magnesium will negate the effects of the Synthroid. So if I take them both at the same, if I screw up and take both of them at the same time, it will cause the Synthroid not to absorb into my system like it's supposed to, which will screw up my thyroid numbers. But that's just back to your point about what you're saying about, they start giving us all these pills and everything else. Please take a look and make sure this doesn't interfere with that.
This will help this. This will help this. Yeah, but will these two work with one another and play nice?
Yeah.
It's like...
I'm pretty fortunate right now because the doctor I have over here at the CBOC is pretty good about contacting me when she sees medications. Like if she does give me something new, it seems like she does take that extra step to make sure it's not going to interfere.
The one down the street.
Yeah.
Yes, they actually do pretty good because I had a similar conversation. It was like, I don't know why these levels are like this, but this is what I'm taking. She's like, the one I had at the time, Dr. Gray. It was like, you should not be taking this if you're taking this.
Yeah.
Help me.
Yeah, that used to be my wife's doctor before she went to down in Palominas before she went to the VA.
Right.
She used to have Dr. Gray. And she had really good success with her, but I don't know how she is over here. I got Warren right now, and she does. I will say she does a pretty good job all over.
Okay.
I think I'm pretty fortunate right now with her.
So I'll just take it for granted that it's working real good for you on that side.
At least at the moment, yeah. It seems like we've got most things kind of ironed out. At least, most of the stuff I have wrong with me at 61 years old is not going to get any better.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we're just trying to make sure it doesn't get any worse, which is kind of where we're at. I did finally get one mystery solved concerning the heart. Thank goodness they put in a permanent recorder called a loop recorder. And we determined that for the most part, it's a benign problem.
Mm-hmm.
I do have some issues with it, but as far as having to sit around and wonder, well, is this particular event going to put me in the grave? No, I don't have to worry about that, at least as far as the heart goes. Now, the problem I have is because I do have high blood pressure,
right,
and it could trigger a stroke. That is possible.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as just the actual palpitations and stuff that I feel, they in and of themselves are not as dangerous as that they could have been, or as I felt like they could have been.
Now, did you, correct me again if I'm wrong, did you say before you had a device in your back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got that put in 2024.
How is that working for you? Because I heard recently, because I have a friend who also has one of those going through VA. Is everything okay with that? Because there was a defect or whatever, something came up recently. I don't know if that's similar.
So there's several different versions. Mine's called Medtronic.
Okay.
So there's several different versions of it. Mine works pretty well.
That's
the only problem that I have has nothing to do with the implant itself. It's just over the years the damage has gotten. Well, let me back up here for a second. So when I had the break, it wasn't taken care of properly. Poor and delayed care again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you've never heard about that about the military at all. But
but
anyway, so when I was getting the stimulator put in, I had to go visit with a VA psychologist.
Mm-hmm.
I guess to make sure mentally I was okay to have no idea what has one to do with the other. But she did point something out that was very, very interesting to me. She said, I don't think the damage is any worse. The problem is it's been ignored so long that the nerves back there are overfiring and creating a lot of pain for you. And so now they don't know to shut off anymore.
Right.
And there's no way really to shut them off because they tried a couple different ways. So what the stimulator actually does for me is, imagine this is the way Desert Sky, Dr. Kyle over Desert Sky explained it to me.
Okay.
So the pain is like noise. Okay. So your body focuses on whatever the loudest part of the noise is. What the stimulator tries to do is be louder than the pain.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of shuts the pain off for a little while for me. Now, when I first got it and started using it, I could do about 30 minutes and it gave me about an hour and 45, hour and a half of relief.
Okay.
And before it would start to kind of amp back up again. The problem it's gotten to be is even 2 years in, I can turn the unit on. It will shut the pain off for about 30 minutes, but my return to pain is within 5 to 10 minutes. So, and I'm sure that's just age, arthritis,
things set in.
Things set in. I mean, it's not going to get any better. That's the problem. And so I'm kind of stuck with it. Like I say, it comes down to this is like, it does hamper a lot of what I do. However, if I need to do something, I can still probably do it. It's just a matter of how much pain I'm willing to eat,
right,
in order to accomplish that task. And the problem I have is the pain is getting such to a level that, yeah, there is. I've been again really find out what my limits are, and they're pretty low.
So with that being said, how has it been for you with VA on the other side?
Oh, well, we're coming up on the end of a 15-year fight. I'm coming up on my second court case, so I'll tell you everything right there. It's for the longest time, and even to some extent today, I want to really be hard on both the Navy and the VA over those things. But I'm also conscious of the fact that the people involved are not bad people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I honestly, God, think they mean well.
Yes.
It's a system that's not designed to take care of all of this. So, for example, I say in my case, I was very fortunate because all my problems are not from blown up shot, in a fight that, got stabbed, shrapnel, all that stuff. Right. Everything that happened to me was basically a workplace injury. Mm-hmm. So let's say I worked for ABC Company. So if I worked for ABC Company and had the same injuries, they would send me down to workers' comp, and they would work with workers' comp and the doctors because they want to get you back to work as quickly as possible. The military's not set up like that.
Mm-hmm.
They just tape you up and send you back,
Yep.
as quickly as humanly possible for them.
Here's your ibuprofen. Here's some water.
Yeah, because we were
do it.
Yeah, because we were talking about a buddy of mine that lives here that serves me on board Louisville. We were talking about it, and he said, "Didn't Doc used to have a bottle of ibuprofen sitting on the water cooler outside of his office?" I was like, "Yeah, as I recall, I'm pretty sure there was one there. So if you had an acre of pain, you just went down there and took that stuff."
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about the big 800 milligrams.
Yeah,
this isn't
big
like
horse pellets.
Yeah. So I mean, it wasn't like it was really being tracked like it should have been.
Yeah.
Because I think back then, 30 years ago, those big 800, well, I think they still are now, or you have to get a prescription in order.
That was always the running joke, like going, "Oh, you're going to sitcom? Well, two horse pellets and a bottle of water."
Yeah, yeah. My doc over Desert Sky calls it Ranger Dandy.
Yeah, yes.
Vitamin M was another name for it, all this stuff, and you don't think about it.
No.
But yeah, it's just not a system that's designed for people with chronic problems that they're going to be there for a long time, or getting you the proper help you need to get you back to work before they just send you back. So, because like when I got hurt with my back, it was 8 days from the day I broke my back till the first x-ray was taken.
No.
And the break wasn't even found until 2010, or no, I take that back, about 2011, 2012, from a CAT scan I had done at Copper Queen.
Mm-hmm.
They were the ones that found it, and they weren't even looking for it. I was in there for a pancreas problem they thought I had, and got cleared on the pancreas problem. I said, "Oh, by the way, do you have like all this broken stuff in your back?" No. I said, "I remember what had happened, but they said they couldn't find anything." Well, it's right there. We found it. So, like I said, it's just not a system that's designed for that.
Mm-hmm.
And so consequently, as you're trying to go through it, you're trying to go through and get something taken care of that it's not designed to take care of in the first place. They're very conscious of somebody that got shot, blown up,
right.
IED, stabbed, the list goes on and on for combat injuries. And we know there's stories of people still even struggling with that.
Yeah.
So workplace injuries are not even in their thinking.
Mm-mm.
And I think one of the bigger problems they had, and I'm getting off a tangent we could go on for 3 days.
We can go forever.
But I don't think that either one of the Bush administrations really thought all the way through about the guys that were going to come back from those two things that they were going to have to take care of after the fact. I mean, I know I'm not the biggest FDR guy in the world, but I will give him credit where credit's due on one thing. He knew after World War II was over, he's going to have to take care of those guys, and he did a lot to do so. I don't think I don't think they did it out of negligence. I just don't think they realized or thought it all the way through that if I go into this fight with these people, I'm going to have to take care of them how many they're going to have to take care of. So, I think they thought it was going to be something like Panama where they were just going to go in and be a few twisted ankles and that'd be the end of it. Yeah. But it didn't play out like that.
No, not even close.
So now we got all these guys that are applying, and it's a lot easier now because of places like Warrior Healing Center, and we kind of have our own network as veterans to tell guys, because that's how I found out about filing for my stuff.
Yes.
Was from another veteran. Because I was having some problems at a place I was working with my knees at the time, and they were really bothering me. He goes, you can file for that. And I, what the heck are you taught?
Yeah.
I had no clue. And then, and that gets back into that thing about the thing from the 90s where they told me I wasn't eligible to go to the VA. I think they knew that if I went there, somebody eventually was going to say, you can file on that.
Yeah. That's the main message trying to push out here, like going, you can file on this in time. As a matter of fact, let's get you done now.
Yeah. I tell veterans all the time, it's like, I'll run across them and they'll be having problems with something or whatever. And I'll go, did that crop up when you were in service? Were you having ankle problems when you were in? Were you having knee problems when you're in? What about your back? Go get help. I don't care if they just give you a 0 rating.
Yeah.
That's because that way you
get in the system.
Get in the system so that way you can get treated for this.
Exactly.
Because if you're paying for it out of your pocket for something that's cropped back up because of something you got hurt for, we all signed a contract saying you'll take care of that.
Yep.
So get in there and get it done. It's, I know there's some veterans that kind of consider you a bit of a gold digger when you're doing stuff like that. Look, I didn't get hurt at home playing ping pong.
Exactly.
I broke my back moving equipment for the military. I wasn't on duty when I hurt my knee one time when I tore the MCL, but I was going down steps on a base when it happened. I was going to the gym. Why? Because I wanted to stay in shape so I could pass my PRT.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it wasn't like any of that stuff happened when I was separated both shoulders. Just doing a stores load. So all this stuff happened while I was
in the
working.
military.
Yeah, and it was all in the service. So yeah, I mean, it's the second half with dealing with that uh, that bureaucracy. The only advice I can give people is don't give up. Till you've played your last spade, do not give up.
Keep fighting, and if you think that you can't do it, there are lots of places, especially Warrior Healing Center that can definitely help you, or they can point you in the right direction who can help you.
I keep telling people all the time because I'll see people on some of the Facebook veteran pages. They'll go like, "Well, how do I deal with this?" It's like, find a VSO. Do that first thing.
Yeah.
Find somebody that's going to be adversarial with them. Not because you're trying to be a jerk, but if you don't have somebody willing to go fight with them, they're going to put you off as long as they can. Make their life uncomfortable, not your life uncomfortable. You signed a paper saying you'll take care of this. So hold them to their standard. That's what they said they do. They need to do it.
Definitely. The Submariner's Tale. Definitely go check it out. If there's one message you would hope someone would get from reading your book, what would that message be?
Just what I was saying there at the end. Just endure it. I mean, I think one of the last things I write in a book, whenever you get to the end of it, you'll see that not all stories end clean, but sometimes the story is just the fact that you were able to endure everything. Don't just give up. You it may not work out like you want, but there's still positive things you can get out of it.
Just keep fighting.
That's all you can do.
Thank you for coming on.
No, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
And you're always welcome back anytime.
Yeah.
Especially if you want to pick up your broadcast once again.
Yeah, I was batting around something today. I got some people I want to talk to about a couple different things. I'm kind of thinking maybe something along the lines that I did with this, but maybe getting some vets in here.
Definitely.
And maybe they'll tell their story if I can talk them into it.
Hey.
So, yeah. And you can pick this up on Amazon. Oh, just so everybody knows, I've got 3 book signings coming up here locally. I've got one on the 25th right now, as far as I know, at Friends of the Public Library, which is the bookstore there.
Amazing place.
Denny's. We're in the Denny's.
Rob's working out over there. I know her well, so she's a great person working that.
I'll be at First Saturdays in the Mall, August 1st.
Okay, well, I'll see you again.
And then and then the 25th. No, it's the 4th Saturday of August, which I'm not sure what the specific date is, but it'll be the last Saturday in August. I'll be back at Boot Hill Books there on Fry Boulevard.
Okay.
Doing theirs. So.
And if they want to go ahead and pick up your book online or anywhere?
Amazon? Yeah, just go look up Submariner's Tale, Rob Robertson. It should pop right up. You can get either the ebook. I've got an ebook form, hardback, paperback, whatever you want to get. If you order from them, you can bring it down and I'll sign it for you, or you can just get one from me at my table.
You could search for it, like you said, on Amazon. Or go ahead, check up the comments, check out the intro up above or the comments down below, depending on where you're watching this interview. And definitely go check them at the 3 places he just said: Friends of the Public Library, Friends of the Sierra Vista Public Library.
Yeah, let's
take that back. First Saturday, first Saturday in August, which can be August 1st. And then, what was it? Boot
Hill Books at the first Saturday. That should be the last Saturday in August. I should be there from 10 till 2.
Definitely go check it out. Very good read. I am 3/4 done with it, and I am liking what I'm seeing so far. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go ahead and head out, but again, tune in next week. We got another first-time vendor, first-time veteran-owned business. She's going to be in here. I saw her at First Saturday a couple times, so I had to get her in here, especially when she was at Stand Up for Freedom. So I got a new one, and got plenty more coming, so keep watching. Cochise County's veteran-owned business all over the Warrior Healing Center social media network. Keep watching. Stay tuned. And we'll be back next week, 5-ish, 6-ish, but it's definitely Thursday.